Good afternoon, Phoenix. It is so great to be here with you today and the Vice President to talk about the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to ensuring access to quality reproductive health care for all, including the brave women who served our country in uniform. That's right. At VA, we have one mission: to fulfill President Lincoln's promise to care for those who have served in our nation's military and for their families, caregivers, and survivors. And I've had the honor of leading a team of over 400,000 dedicated healthcare professionals across this country that strive every single day to serve veterans just as well as they have served us. Just this week, thanks to the PACT Act signed by President Biden in August of 2022, VA announced new eligibility for health care that will allow us to enroll and provide more care to millions of veterans sooner. That's right. As of Tuesday, veterans who served in the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, Iraq, Afghanistan, or any other combat zone after 9/11 are all presumed to be exposed to toxic burn pits during their service, meaning they are eligible to enroll in VA health care regardless of what their health care conditions are and regardless of whether they even have a claim for service connection. That's right. You heard that right. If you are a post-9/11 or Gulf War veteran, you can get access to VA health care starting now. But meeting our obligation also means providing appropriate care for our fastest growing demographic of veterans, women. For example, the PACT Act established breast cancer and gynecologic cancers as presumptively service-connected to toxic burn pit exposure, meaning if you are a woman who is deployed to defend our freedom, either in the Gulf War or post-9/11, to any combat zone, and God forbid you develop breast cancer or gynecologic cancer, that is a service-connected benefit and health care waiting for you. Half of the women veterans who get care from VA are of reproductive age, so that means world-class reproductive and maternity care is just part of our daily work that we offer to women across this country. In fact, at VA, we've taken this priority very seriously. In the past year alone, more than 7,000 childbirths were covered or provided by VA. And President Biden and Vice President Harris directed us to expand our maternity care coordination program to cover 12 months of care post-delivery, up from just 8 weeks just months ago. These coordinators help veterans navigate health care inside and outside of the VA and connect veterans with care after childbirth, ensure access to follow-up screenings, and more. This means that veterans will have the full support and the resources they need from VA, regardless of where they give birth. Knowing that maternal morbidity and mortality risk can last up to a year after birth, this is needed care for veterans. We also know that in some cases, continuing a pregnancy can endanger the life or health of veterans, including if a veteran becomes pregnant after a trauma such as rape or incest. And so in the wake of the Supreme Court decision that led to some states restricting access to that needed care, VA began providing abortion counseling and care in certain cases to veterans across the country. And we recently finalized a rule confirming that care. This care can save veterans' lives, and there is nothing more important than that. I thank Vice President Harris for the honor of joining her today to see her leadership on this issue in action. Her support for veterans is palpable, and it matters. God bless all of you, our troops, our veterans and their families, caregivers, and survivors. Thank you so much.
Hello, happy International Women's Day. We all get to celebrate International Women's Day with the most powerful woman on the planet. I'm Phoenix Mayor Kate Geigo, and it's an absolute honor to welcome Vice President Harris to the Valley of the Sun. We are the largest city governed by a pro-choice woman mayor and pro-choice women supermajority. As mayor, I am so thankful to have the strong partnership with the Biden-Harris administration, whether it's investing in our infrastructure, bringing back American manufacturing, or supporting the fight for reproductive rights. We have such a strong partnership with this administration, and there's no city that's benefited more than Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix is proud to be a pro-choice city. When the Supreme Court rolled back the clock by 50 years, overturning Roe versus Wade, the Phoenix City Council took action. We completely deprioritized police enforcement of archaic abortion laws, laws that harm women who don't have the means to safely seek an abortion, laws that take aim at medical professionals for providing care, laws that simply do not belong on the books. Arizonans have the chance to make their voices heard this year by voting whether to enshrine abortion as a right in our state constitution. This could not be more important. For as long as Phoenix has its current leadership, we'll continue leading the way on ensuring women have access to the care they need when they need it, because no one, besides our doctors and us, should be able to dictate the deeply personal medical decisions. We are so fortunate to have a president and vice president who understand that and who are right there with us. We are so glad to be in this amazing City of Phoenix Parks facility. I want to thank the men and women, many of whom are with AFSCME, who made this event possible here today. Team Phoenix has gone above and beyond to plan this event and to welcome you all. Thank you to our amazing team at the City of Phoenix. In a few moments, you'll get to see my great predecessor as mayor, Congressman Greg Stanton. And I just wanted to... So much of what we're doing here today and building on, he delivered, and he continues to fight for Phoenix. But in case you want to bring it up, today is his birthday. Awesome. So thank you all for bringing an amazing welcome to our Vice President, and thank you for being here with us today.
Please welcome Congressman Greg Stanton.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for a birthday gift. I am asking all of you to get 25 of your friends to sign the petition for the Arizona for Abortion Action Initiative so we can get that on the ballot and do the right thing in November. Good afternoon. It is great to be here for the Phoenix version of the Reproductive Freedom Tour. This is not a political event, but Arizona is the most important state in 2024. And it was great to see and just hear from my good friend, the mayor of this great city, Mayor Gallego. Phoenix is so lucky to have an awesome mom in the mayor's office who's been a real fighter for women on everything from equal pay to reproductive rights. Almost 2 years ago, a conservative Supreme Court, handpicked because of their opposition to reproductive freedom, ripped away the constitutional right to abortion care that had been the law of the land in this country for 50 years. It was settled law. Never before in the history of this great country have we gone backwards on a protected constitutional right. The right for women, for families to make their own choices on their own terms is under attack. Anti-choice extremists are looking to take us back even further, asking the Arizona Supreme Court to revive a near-total ban on abortion that was passed in 1864. 50 years before we were a state, 50 years before women could even vote. We all know what's at stake. We all have a role to play in defending reproductive freedoms. And this room is filled with leaders who are doing the hard work to get those signatures to put the Arizona for Abortion Access Initiative on the ballot. And every time around this country, every time restoring abortion rights has been on a ballot since Roe was overturned, it has won, and we will win big in Arizona in November. President Biden said it last night at the State of the Union. I was there, up late. It was a late one. President Biden said, elect a Congress that supports the right to choose, and we will restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again. We will pass the Women's Health Protection Act and enshrine the right to abortion into federal law. But of course, you know it's not just the right to it. You got to have access to it. You need access to reproductive services as well. We will make sure health clinics are safe and accessible no matter a person's zip code or financial situation. We have to fully fund and protect Title X and we need to end the Hyde Amendment for good so that those already struggling to make ends meet aren't forced to pay more out of pocket for reproductive care. But the anti-choice movement isn't stopping at abortion. No, their extreme, out-of-touch agenda is going after birth control, and it has even put access to fertility treatments at risk for millions of Americans trying to grow their families. It's shocking. But the goal for the anti-choice movement is and has always been about controlling women's bodies. That's why it's crucial we also take federal action to protect access to contraception and treatments like IVF. It should always be your decision and only your decision, not a politician's decision. HHS Secretary Javier Becerra is here. We flew back from Washington to here together. I want to say something to the good secretary. He is doing everything in his power to protect and expand Americans' access to quality health care, and he's doing great work to cut pharmaceutical drug prices in the United States. And to Vice President Harris, she's traveling all across this great country for months and months, taking the fight for reproductive justice to communities where it is most endangered, including here in Arizona. And I just want to say on behalf of all Arizonas, thank you, Vice President Harris, for the work that you are doing. And thank each and every one of you for being here. We won't stop. We can't stop fighting. The fight goes on. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Please welcome U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra.
It is great to be with you all today. Thank you for taking the time to be with us on a very important day. I want to recognize the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, for making another stop throughout America. Your awesome Mayor, Kate Gallego. Mayor, where are you? Are you still here? She has been fantastic as a leader of a great city that you all keep growing. And you're doing well. And you're doing well. And you've got the kind of sunshine we Californians like. So keep it coming. To Congressman Greg Stanton, thank you so much for your leadership. Former mayor of a great town, and now in Washington, D.C., doing some great service for each and every one of you. I want to say to those of you who took the time to be with us, thank you for recognizing the importance of being here, this moment, today, and especially to those of you who are younger. And by the way, I'm a little older, so younger could be anything under 40, but I mean anything under, let's say, 30. All three of my daughters are under 30. Anytime I see someone who's that age, I want to hug them because they are so important to the future of this country. So thank you to those of you who are going to take over the reins really soon. Thank you for being here. Less than 24 hours after the President's State of the Union address, it is great to be in this wonderful city here at the South Mountain Community Center. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very good. I'm proud to join Vice President Biden here for this special occasion to once again say, happy birthday, Congressman Stanton. We all got to say that periodically, right? Pretty soon he's not going to want to have anyone know that it's his birthday. So may as well say it while we can. And actually, I think we all understand why we're really here. We're here because, at least I know Vice President Harris and I are here because you came and you are here. We are here and we care because you care. We will fight because we know you will fight. And this is and by the way, was President Biden in a fighting mood last night? We are in this together. We are in this together, protecting your access to medication abortion, all the way to the Supreme Court. We are here together, protecting your right to contraception care. We are here together, protecting your right to privacy, whether you are a patient or a provider. We are here together, protecting your right to emergency care. Because regardless of why you found yourself in emergency, when you get to that hospital ER room, you're entitled to the care that keeps you stable and alive, including abortion care. We're here enforcing the requirements that health insurance plans and pharmacies ensure that you are given the care you're entitled to. And that includes contraception care with zero out-of-pocket costs to you. And we're going to make sure we enforce that right that you have. We're going to be sure to work with you, to inform you that you have rights. Regardless of what state you're in this country, you have rights. And you should know where you can access the care that you need. And that's why we established reproductiverights.com, so you know where you can go to get the information you need to protect your rights. We do all of this because we know that, well, women and doctors are facing risks and threats to their life, to their well-being. We know that a 10-year-old rape victim must leave her home and her state to receive the abortion care she needs. We know that there are tens of thousands of women and girls who are raped and become pregnant, who live in states that will deny them the abortion care they need. We know that there are doctors like Carolina Reyes, my wife, who is a high-risk OBGYN, that before she can dispense her medical opinion, today she wonders if she has to consult legal opinion about the care that she will deliver. We're here because we know that there are medical students who are choosing not to establish their practices in states, sometimes their home state, that attack reproductive rights and health, leaving women in those states with even less care than they have today. And we do this because our daughters, my 3 daughters, today have fewer rights than their mothers. Poet Robert Frost once said, "How many things have to happen to you before something finally occurs to you?" The eyes of the nation are on Arizona. What more must happen to us here and throughout America before it occurs to us that we have the power to stop this madness, that we have the power to restore those rights to my 3 daughters, your daughters, to all of our daughters? What more do we need to have happen to us before we recognize that the right to health care is not something a politician can take from us, because we know what's best for our bodies, we know what decisions to make, because we will consult with the physician, our clergy, whomever we wish to help us make decisions. But that right belongs to us. So we're not waiting. President Biden, Vice President Harris, we at the Department of Health and Human Services, we're not waiting. We're in this to fight with you, to protect the rights to access the health care that you need, not just for you, but for all Americans. We're here to make sure that that includes abortion care, contraception care, in vitro fertilization care, you name it, we're here to fight. That's why we're here today in Phoenix, because you came, we come. You fight, we will fight. And when you win, we will be right there with you. Thank you all very much.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Phoenix. I'm delighted to be here. My name is Angela Flores, and I am a proud Arizonan born right here in Phoenix and raised in Holbrook, a little small town up in northern Arizona. I consider myself an example of what the opportunity our state provides. I went to Holbrook Public Schools, home of the Roadrunners. Meet me. After high school, I lived at home while attending a local community college to stretch our family's resources a little bit further before moving here to Phoenix to attend Arizona State University. Go Devils! I've spent my life working in every corner of our beautiful state, collaborating with stakeholders to increase opportunity, access, and visibility for marginalized communities. I started my career in public service working for the Girl Scouts, the very same council in which I was a Brownie and a Junior Scout. That led me to a seat in the Hispanic Leadership Institute, a program that allowed me to join local Latino leaders in understanding the issues impacting communities throughout our state. And that foundation helped me understand that as a Latina leader, I had a unique opportunity to create more seats at tables where decisions were being made on behalf of our communities. That experience really helped me focus my career solely on public service, specifically in healthcare, where I joined Valle del Sol Community Health for nearly a decade. I worked on advancing health equity and addressing the social determinants of health in the Latino community. During those years, I learned from our patients that economic prosperity is deeply tied to access to quality health care, especially for young women. And that's led me to where I am today, the new, just 1 month in, President and CEO of Planned Parenthood Arizona. Thank you. Before joining as a staff member, I spent 7 years volunteering at Planned Parenthood Arizona. But most importantly, I've been a patient at Planned Parenthood for over 20 years. I'm still a patient. What I've learned from my time as a patient and volunteer is something that you here already know. Choosing when and if you want to parent is the single most critical decision that impacts your socioeconomic future. And just as many of you here today, I too have people in my life whom I love dearly who were unable to make that choice simply due to accessibility. And it changed the trajectory of their lives. Today, millions have had that ability to make that decision for themselves taken away. The overturning of Roe v. Wade was a dark and heavy day, and it required abortion care to pause in our state for far too long. But in these darkest moments, we also found glimmers of light. It has been our providers at Planned Parenthood Arizona who have remained a positive force to reckon with. They've worked around the clock to meet Arizonans' increasing demands for long-acting forms of contraceptions, inserting IUDs for patients who worry that short-term birth control methods could be targeted next. One recent example really stood out to me. Our chief medical officer performed an abortion for a patient who had to drive hours and hours across several states with her small children in the back seat just to get to our health center. Arizonans know it is well past time to protect access to abortion in our state. I see it every day in the high fives from strangers, in the yard signs across town, and in really the widespread community support for our abortion patients and providers. We are in a critical moment for reproductive freedom in Arizona. We are currently awaiting a decision from the Arizona Supreme Court. That decision will determine whether or not a cruel, near-total ban on abortion can be enforced in our state. But we all know that pre-statehood laws should not be dictating our reproductive freedom and how we live our lives today. Arizonans want and deserve the freedom to make our own decisions about our reproductive health. And President Biden and Vice President Harris know this. That's why they've been fighting for us. Simply put, they've been relentless in their pursuit to protect access to sexual and reproductive health care in the face of state restrictions on abortion imposed after the fall of Roe. And as I look out and see all of you here with such a strong showing of support, this really is an incredible moment. It's certainly not something on little Angela's life bingo card. I never thought I would be introducing the Vice President of the United States. But to do so in my home state, a state I've never left, and a state I deeply love, at this moment, and with this Vice President, it is an honor and privilege to introduce a longtime champion in the fight for reproductive freedom. Someone who has fought for women across America as a district attorney, attorney general, senator, and now the first woman in history to be elected Vice President of the United States. So everyone, please make some noise and join me in giving a loud and proud Arizona welcome to our Vice President, Kamala Harris.
Good to be back in Arizona. We will get 4 more years, won't we? I want to thank President Flores for her incredible work. And of course, the words I just said to her, I thank her for stepping up to serve at this moment in the history of our country, because these truly are challenging times. And for all the leaders who are here, the courage that you show every day to do this work is extraordinary. And you do this work on behalf of people we may never meet and people who may never know our names. But because of your advocacy and your fight, they will forever be benefited. So I thank everyone here for your leadership, and all the extraordinary leaders who are here, including Secretary Becerra, who is here, your mayor, Kate Gallego. I have to tell you, she's so wonderful. She met me on the tarmac as I landed at Air Force 2, and she's been talking with me about all the work, all the good work that she's doing here. I thank you, Mayor. Congressman Greg Stanton is here, a powerful voice for this city, and in particular on the issue of public transit and water infrastructure. And by the way, today's his birthday. Yes, okay, so we all wished him a happy birthday. And of course, my dear friend Ruben Gallego wanted to be here today, the congressman. I saw him last night in Washington at the President's State of the Union. I've known him for a while, and I have to say that the congressman, he is a tireless fighter for the people and the families of Arizona. So we are thinking of him, and he has been a true leader, a national leader to the President and me in terms of his advice and friendship. I also want to thank all the organizers in Arizona who are collecting signatures to uphold one of our nation's highest ideals. Thank you all. This makes a huge difference. And of course, you are fighting for the ideal of freedom. 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 It is fundamental to the promise of America. Freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom of assembly, and the freedom to vote. And in America, freedom is not to be given. It is not to be bestowed. It is ours by right. And that, of course, includes the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, not the government telling people what to do. So 51 years ago, in the case of Roe v. Wade, the United States Supreme Court recognized the fundamental constitutional right to reproductive freedom. However, almost 2 years ago, the highest court in our land, the Court of Thurgood and RBG, took a constitutional right that had been recognized from the people of America, from the women of America. And now we must speak of Roe in the past tense. In states across our nation, extremists have proposed and passed laws that criminalize doctors and punish women. Laws that threaten doctors and nurses with prison time, even for life, simply for providing health care. Laws like those in Arizona that make no exception even for rape or incest. Now, as many of you know, I started my career as a prosecutor specializing in crimes of violence against women and children. What you may not know is why. So when I was in high school, my best friend, I learned, was being molested by her stepfather. And so I said to her, look, you've got to come stay with us. I called my mother, and my mother said, absolutely, she has to come stay with us, and she did. So the idea that someone who survives a crime of violence to their body, a violation of their body, would then be told they don't have the authority to make a decision about what happens to their body next? That is immoral. That is immoral. And today, of course, in some states, extremists even attack the freedom to use IVF treatment. Women and couples denied the ability to fulfill their dream of having a child. And please let us consider the irony. On the one hand, these extremists tell women they do not have the freedom to end an unwanted pregnancy, and on the other hand, these extremists tell women they don't have the freedom to start a family. Let us all agree, one does not have to abandon Let us all agree, one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government should not be telling her what to do with her body. And this is, in fact, a healthcare crisis. There is nothing hypothetical about this moment. Today in America, 1 in 3 women of reproductive age live in a state with an abortion ban. 1 in 3 women of reproductive age. And that number is even higher for Latinas. 40% of Latinas live in a state where abortion is banned, including right here in Arizona, where extremist legislators passed an abortion ban with no exception for rape or incest. And right now, other extremists, as you have heard and know, are in court trying to bring back a law from 1864 that would completely ban abortion in Arizona. 1864. Understand, 1864, before women had the right to vote, before women could own property, before Arizona was even admitted as a state. Look, these extremists, they're trying to take women back to the 1800s, but we're not going to let them. We're not going to let them. We are not going to let them. And let us understand the impact of laws like these, since Roe was overturned, have created a horrific reality that women in our country are facing every single day. It is not without harm to real people that this has happened. You know, I've met women who had miscarriages in toilets because they were refused care. I met a woman who went to the emergency room during a miscarriage and was turned away repeatedly because the doctors there were afraid they might be put in jail for giving her care. And it was only when she developed sepsis that they administered care. And consider that the majority of women in America are mothers who have abortions. The majority are mothers. So if she lives in a state with an abortion ban and needs to travel to receive care, God help her if she does not have paid leave or affordable child care, or the savings necessary to buy a bus, train, or plane ticket to get where she can receive support and help. And by the way, these extremists say they're motivated by the health and well-being of women and children, while they are silent on the issue of maternal mortality. That in connection with childbirth, women in America die at a higher rate than any women in a wealthy nation around the world. The issue of maternal mortality, and they've been silent on that, and all of a sudden they are the great defenders of women and children. Consider on the issue of maternal mortality that black women are 3 times as likely to die in connection with pregnancy, Native women twice as likely, rural women 1.5 times as likely. And the top 10 states with the highest rates of maternal mortality all have abortion bans, including Arizona. The hypocrisy abounds. And the reality, in real time, across our country, is that for every story we hear, there are so many that we do not. Today, an untold number of women are silently suffering. Women who are being subjected to profound judgment, women who are being made to feel as though they did something wrong, as though they should be embarrassed, as though they are alone. So to these women I say, we see you, and we are here with you, and we are always going to stand by you. You are not alone. And in this health care crisis, then, please do understand who is to blame. The former President, Donald Trump, handpicked 3 members of the United States Supreme Court because he intended for them to overturn Roe. He intended for them to take your freedoms. And he brags about it. He said that for years they were, quote, trying to get rid of Roe v. Wade, trying to have it terminated. And then he said, quote, and I did it and I'm proud to have done it. He is proud. Proud that women across our nation are suffering. Proud that doctors and nurses could be thrown in prison for administering care. Proud that young women today have fewer rights than their mothers and grandmothers. How dare he? So let us understand, the former president is the architect of this health care crisis. And the extremists are not done. In the United States Congress, extremists tried to pass a national abortion ban to outlaw abortion in every single state. But what they need to know is that if Congress passes a national abortion ban, President Joe Biden will veto it. Because here's the deal. We trust women. We trust women to know what is in their own best interest. And women trust us to fight to protect their most fundamental freedoms. And it's going to take all of us. It is going to take all of us. Joe Biden and I are fighting in court to protect women's access to medication and emergency care. We have worked to make sure medical records stay between a doctor and his or her patient. We have protected the right of women to travel between states for abortion care, and we are fighting for access to free contraception. But here's the bottom line. As President Biden made clear last night in the State of the Union, to truly protect reproductive freedoms, we must restore the protections of Roe. What the United States Supreme Court took, Congress can put back in place. So we must have a majority of members in Congress who simply agree, regardless of their personal beliefs for themselves or their family, who just simply agree that the government should not be making these personal decisions for other people. That's the bottom line. And when Congress passes a law that restores reproductive freedoms and the reproductive freedoms of Roe, Joe Biden will sign it into law. So, in conclusion, I will repeat, it is going to take all of us. It is going to take all of us to get there. And momentum is on our side. Since Roe was overturned, every time reproductive freedom has been on the ballot, every time, 22, 23, Every time reproductive freedom has been on the ballot, the people of America have voted for freedom. From Kansas to California to Kentucky, in Michigan, Montana, Vermont, and Ohio, the people of America voted for freedom by overwhelming margins. And by the way, that also makes a different point, which is this is not a partisan issue. It's not a partisan issue. In red states and blue, tens of millions of Americans marched to the polls, and the voice then of the people has been heard, and it will be heard. So in conclusion, I ask today, Arizona, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we trust women? Do we believe in reproductive freedom? Do we believe in the promise of America? Are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight